Have you ever noticed how good things don't last when everyone has access to them? For example, a school bathroom. If you go to most high schools, they're either the mirrors are taken off or there's really tight restrictions on when you can go to the bathroom. Why is that? Because kids will vandalize and ruin and paint things on the mirror, leave ketchup packets on the ground, take paper towels, and just vandalize the place. They ruin the bathrooms, causing no one else to be able to use it freely. Now, that's a very harsh example because in the real world, this kind of stuff ends up happening, but it's not normally because people mean to ruin it. It just happens naturally. There's a concept where when something is shared by a lot of people, everyone acting in their own best interest ends up hurting everyone, even themselves. Not because the people are evil, not because they wake up and say to themselves, yeah, let's destroy this, but because everyone thinks just a little more, it won't matter. Someone else will do it anyway. I'm not the problem. And when everyone thinks that, it adds up fast. For example, going fishing. If you fish in season, it's fine. If you fish out of season, oh, just one more fish. Someone else will do it anyway. I'm not the problem. It's the people who aren't making enough fish. Not everyone, but a lot of people think that way, and that adds up fast. And everyone ends up worse off than if people had held back. Now, why does this keep happening? Well, it all comes down to human behavior. It's not really about intelligence. I mean, smart people do this too. It's about short-term thinking, lack of accountability, and not seeing the consequences immediately. When the damage is spread out, responsibility, it'll feel invisible. It's easy to say, well, I didn't cause this, even if you contributed to it. One of the biggest drivers in this thought is, if I don't do it, someone else will. And honestly, a lot of the time that's true. But when everyone uses that logic, it'll guarantee the worst outcome. It turns cooperation into kind of a race to extract value before it's gone, like the gold rush, for example. Now, this is the main part people get wrong. This doesn't mean people are bad. It means the systems matter more than intentions. What does that mean? It means you can put good people in a bad system and still get bad or wrong results. That's why just telling people to be better usually doesn't work. So what actually helps? The only things that consistently help are clear rules, limits, ownership or responsibility, etc. Consequences, even small ones. Basically just changing incentives. When people benefit from preserving something instead of exploiting it, the behavior changes fast. Now, once you notice this pattern, you start seeing it everywhere, in communities, in environments, in online spaces, and real-world problems that feel impossible to solve. A scary part of it is some problems get worse the more people think individually instead of collectively, which makes sense when you think about it that way. Now, I just want to shift the topic here really quickly to a rhetorical question. Should humans strive to better their own family generations, future generations to come, or should humans strive to try to benefit future generation as a whole of humanity? Here's an analogy. Say I live in Washington State, and over there in California, the crops are dying. It's super hot out. People are starving to death. And where I live in Washington, we are doing just peachy. We're doing great. We got food, we got money, we got the great weather. Now, is it in our best interest to send them our resources to help them survive? Not necessarily, but morally, ethically, if you think about if you can save someone, you should. However, in some people's minds, that's not the case, because if people in Washington, like me, for example, were to send over our resources, our food, our water, our supplies, our money to California, we're depleting our own resources, worsening future generations who live in Washington, and we're just delaying the death of California further. So yeah, they can live a little longer, but eventually, if we give them too much, or if we tell them, hey, come move over here, our crops are going to get destroyed. Our money's going to run out. Food's going to get used up. Overpopulation is going to overrun Washington. For example, if you're a farmer, every farmer knows that you can have a certain amount of cows in a pasture, but once you have too many, the crops die, the grass turns to mud, and oh no, your food source is gone for the cows. So they keep it in population control. So some people argue, hey, we should just let the people in California die. But the issue with that is, if you just let the people in California die, you're only saying that because you live in Washington. If you were to live in California, you might be thinking very differently because you're like, I don't want to die. The juxtaposition to that is, if I have a Ferrari and I park it on a train track, and on a different train track, a little kid is playing. Now, My Ferrari is not insured. I'm about to retire and sell my Ferrari and live off of what I made. But I parked my Ferrari on the train track, and on a different train track, there's a kid playing. Now there's a train coming, barreling down the track that the kid is on. Do I switch the track to destroy my car, losing everything, making the car worth nothing, and saving the kid's life? Or do I let the train kill the kid? Because it's not like I'm murdering the kid, right? Now most everyone that's watching this would say, hey, you gotta save the kid, obviously. But then Singer, the person who made this argument, then goes on to say, you could donate $200 to charity to save a child, which is effectively the same thing, except you don't lose out on your future. The issue with that is it is such an extreme. It's a completely different situation, and that's where that argument falls short. But what I'm saying is everyone can argue different points. You could argue we should help everyone we can right now, and you could argue we should help the future generations. A lot of it comes down to what situation you're in. And so I want to leave you off with, do you think this is something we can fix, or is this just how humans work?